one argument that came up very, very clearly online, and I think also in the mainstream media. It may not be the majority opinion in the mainstream media, is that it makes no sense for us to go with option one, which is to narrow the scope of the Films Act. In other words, repeal, but reword the act so that you can deal with contentious films that could cause perceived damage. That school of thought is in favor of total repeal of Section 33 of the Films Act. Come, Jenna. And I think this school's argument really twofold. One of is that, I mean, if you want to liberalize, do it the correct way, and total repeal is the correct way. Secondly, with technology, even watered down or narrowed Section 33 is not going to be effective, because you cannot stop people from putting prohibited content on YouTube. You can't do that unless Singapore decides to shut down YouTube, which is not going to happen, because the damage to Singapore will be a lot worse than just a repeal of the act. Well, these are good, sound arguments. But I would like to hear your views based on the experience that we encountered since we started work on this report in April last year. In the course of our work, we went to several places elsewhere in the world, and we discovered that in many places, the considered view was that it is not wise to have a free-for-all on the internet. You've got to have some kind of a restriction. Although they concede that the technology will make the law impossible to enforce, they feel that there ought to be some laws. I remember vividly when we were in Brussels, the EU had just passed a law that covered the internet, and that law prohibits hate speech. Specifically, you cannot, on the internet or elsewhere, deny that the Holocaust did take place. In fact, there were some EU members who were against that law. They felt that it inhibits free speech. And in fact, I also remember after Brussels we went to London. On the front page of the London Daily Telegraph, just a small little report. A bunch of bloggers had gotten together and said that this law is unfair. It inhibits free speech. But the EU decided they will proceed and have that law, whether or not it can be enforced online. And then in Tokyo, we wanted to find out why is it that in Japan there are tough restrictions on online content during general elections. During the campaign period, nobody, politicians, members, you cannot use the internet to campaign. So I remember over a breakfast meeting, I asked scholar. He is a professor from Keio University. Why? His answer was in one word: emotions. Web content arouses people's emotions. And then in May this year, we were in Montreal. And I was fascinated to sit in at a panel discussion, something like this, a bit smaller room, you know. And this is a panel of filmmakers, academics, and somebody who's in the movie distribution industry. And they were discussing. What struck me was that they are saying that there is now a resurgence in the West of political films. Why? Number one, people are maximizing the use of the technology to make films. It can be as short as 5 minutes, you know, and be distributed on the net. Because they will have a political point to make. They want political changes to be made. You know. So this medium is going to be a very powerful medium for people who want to make films. You know. And they tell us, the panel told us, you know, that those films are deliberately slanted. I mean, being, what do you call it? Protecting the integrity of your information is less important than the point of view they want to put across. So they say there's there's been a proliferation of this, and as long as you know, the conditions in the West, like in America, elsewhere, remain what they are. In fact, they were very unhappy with the mainstream media because one reason they went into this medium is that they feel that the mainstream media is not taking up many of the issues that they feel were important. So this is likely to proliferate. This kind of engagement, you know, online is going to continue. Then, let me read you something which I read. And this was even before AIMS was started. This is an editorial in an American newspaper called the Boston Globe. And if you like, you can read. I can give you the date. You know, it was published on March the 23rd, 2007. We started in April, so this is before. And it's an editorial that was discussing the type of material that you can see on the internet. And the editorial was prompted by the fact that there was a lot of distortions online. Mrs. Clinton was slammed by the Obama camp because the Obama camp, you know, would caricature her and, you know, juxtapose sound bites and films. And the two contenders for the Democratic Convention were slugging it out. You know, Obama attacks Clinton, Mrs. Clinton comes to the fore. And it led the Boston Globe to ask this question. Suppose, it said, 2 or 3 days before a close election, and a scurrilous, deceitful, anonymous clip was posted on YouTube and the other sites that specialize in homemade videos. Candidates should, of course, monitor all these sites and flag the offending videos. But doesn't YouTube have an obligation to make sure that this content are swept away from the site before they can do harm?